This is Caitlin Henry, and I am doing an interview with Warren Abbott on the third floor of Malpass Library, and it is February 22nd. Well, first, I kind of wanted to start off asking you more questions about the tour that you took us on, because I thought that was really interesting. I was excited to do that.
Glad to do it.
The thing that stuck out most to me was when we were in, I don't remember what room it was, but it was I think we were on the highest floor, and you were talking about the weekends and the parties that you would have, and that. Can you tell me more about the parties? Was your house kind of like a go-to?
Well, it was basically
hangout?
Well, it was more of a after-school function. After the football game, we had a dance, and they would play records, and we would dance, and it was obviously had supervisors or whatever you want, chaperones there, so it was a highly structured thing,
That's so cool.
So.
And then the other lady that was there was talking about how almost everyone was in a band. It seemed like, were you in a band?
Not really, but my brother Tom, to this day, is in a band, and he's actually over in Peoria called in the Dorito Brothers, and they play all over Peoria.
Really?
And what's unique about Tom is that he's left-handed, and he plays the guitar upside down and backwards, just like Jimi Hendrix did.
Oh,
and he's the one of our family that really got the musical talent. And he plays lead guitar, bass guitar, harmonica, so.
Well, when I was on the archive website looking at the yearbooks, I typed in Abbott at first, and then I did see several of him, so I was wondering if you were related to him.
Yes,
so he's your brother.
Yes, I'm the oldest.
Okay.
My brother Stan, my brother Tom, my sister Sarah, and my little sister Suanne.
Okay. Did they all attend the lab school then?
Well, here's the story on that is that they would have, but in 1973 they closed Horriman and everyone went to Macomb High. But what happened was my brother Tom made it all the way through, but then I think he graduated in 72, and then my sister was at that time a sophomore, and she made it through the 73 year, her junior year. And then they closed the school, and she had to spend her senior year at Macomb High. And she said that she hated it. It was just the crosstown rival thing and all of that. So
there was a rival in between.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Still is.
Okay.
I mean, all of us that are our age, it's still there. We laugh about it now.
So, how were you viewed then by them? By the public school, if you attended?
We were viewed as the elite.
Okay.
Because it was technically a private school.
Yeah.
And because we were affiliated with the university, we had a lot of advantages they didn't have.
Yeah.
So I guess they were jealous, I suppose. But the thing is, in the summers, all of us guys played Little League baseball together, and up through high school, we all played together, so we all knew each other.
Yeah.
So we were it was more in fun than anything.
Okay. What were why did you attend the lab school?
What years? Well, I think I started in 1956.
Okay.
And went all the way through, like in your class, that was my kindergarten. And all the way through my senior year at Simpkins, Western High School. And in 1968, Horriman was supposed to be open, but due to construction delays, etc., it didn't quite get done. Although we had a baccalaureate service in the theater at Horriman, and that's as close as we came to graduating from there. My brother Stan, when you talk to him, I don't know if you have yet or not.
I have not talked to him yet.
Yeah, he did graduate from there.
Okay.
His class was the first class to go through that. He spent his senior year there.
Okay. I know that a lot of the students went to law school because their parents were professors here.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why you attended?
I assume so.
Okay.
It was probably a perk, but yeah, Dad was on the faculty. He was in the health administration, whatever it is, and he was also the track and cross country coach.
Oh, is that how you kind of got interested into?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was kind of following Dad's footsteps because Dad was a high hurdler, so
Mm-hmm.
I was too. So,
That's cool.
and so I had a lot of extra coaching technique-wise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just not jumping over hurdles.
Yeah.
There's a technique to it.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see what else can I ask you. You mentioned earlier that you were are you still close with some of the people then? I know you said that a lot of those people you don't know where they are, but
Right,
are there
right.
some that you still are close to?
Sure. There are several here in town that I talk to a lot. Mary Beth Nix Spear is her name. She, I think, taught over at St. Paul's for a while. I think still there. I don't know for sure.
Okay.
But I talk to Bernie Whalen now and then, and sometimes others. I can't think of them right now.
Yeah, I'm sure there's...
Yeah.
How many did you say were in your graduating class?
I think 54. I could
Okay.
probably count them all here in this picture. There's a picture of the entire senior class somewhere in here. Yeah, here it is. That's all of us right there.
Oh,
And,
really?
Yep, that's the entire senior class. So there's probably 54 or 56, something
Yeah.
like that.
It's really neat,
You know,
though.
I wish the photographer would have got us all in the sun. This is
Yeah.
it's hard to see some.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway, you can see some of the way the clothes. Most of the girls have skirts on,
Uh-huh.
and the guys have nice shirts and long slacks. Or
Mm-hmm.
in my case, I used to wear Levi's, different color Levi's.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh my gosh, that really reminded me. In your yearbook, it talked about, it had a picture of freshmen, and I don't know if it was like the first day or not, but the girls were all dressed in jeans, and the boys were dressed kind of goofy too. Do you remember
yeah,
about that?
that was hazing. We got to do hazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so we would make them dress up silly like, you know, and they'd have to spend the day being our slave, you know, whatever we wanted. We'd ask them to go get stuff, you know, that we weren't supposed to. Go get some gum, or we weren't allowed to chew gum.
Oh.
You know, so go get some gum, which is, you know, you're breaking the rules.
Yeah.
So we could get in trouble, but they would do it anyway, and the teachers kind of overlooked it, you know.
That's
But
funny.
it was all in fun, and nobody got humiliated or whatever. You know, it was just a lot of fun.
Because I saw that picture in there, and it's really funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's really funny.
Guys and girls this time of year, or in this day and age, not allowed to do that anymore
Yeah.
because of somebody getting humiliated,
Yeah.
you know, or feeling humiliated, you know, and oh golly, we can't have that.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. I also saw in your yearbooks that you were in Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, my 8th grade year.
Yeah, I saw that. I think you were one of the...
I was the king.
Okay.
Yeah, I was the king. Yeah, there's a story behind that one too.
Well, go ahead and share it.
I was at that time. I worked at a YMCA camp out in Camp Arrowhead in Ottumwa, Iowa, and I was a camp counselor out there for about a month. And you know, we did canoeing and usual camp stuff. You
Yeah.
know? And it was all based on a tribe of Indians that escapes me now. I forget, you know. But I get home and my mom says, Warren, I volunteered you to be in the play because they couldn't find anybody, so you're in the play. And oh yeah, you're the king. So I had this big book to memorize a whole bunch of lines, but it turned out okay. I worked and worked on it, and I didn't have a whole lot of time to memorize it, but we went through it. And I do remember during the play, I forgot my lines, and the girl that was playing Alice, I'll tell you who she is in a second, whispered, stage whispered, the line and gave me, oh yeah, that's right, to say. So I got, that was my acting debut, and it worked out all right.
So was that the end of your acting career?
Yes. I didn't do that anymore, no.
And then the camp that you were a counselor at, did that have anything to do with you being an Explorer Scout?
No, not really.
No? Okay.
It became because I had gone out there as like a 5th or 6th grader. Mm-hmm. We got involved in just going out there as a camper, and I really enjoyed my time out there. So I looked in to see if I could become a counselor, and lo and behold, I did. And if I remember right, it was the cabins were based on Indian tribes, and I think I was the Sioux tribe, and they had Mohawk and Arapaho and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was all based on Indians. And do you recognize that lady?
Was she the one that was also did the interview?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was about 16. But anyway. So
you had all at the tour. You guys had also talked about how you knew like everyone in the whole school. Mm-hmm. So you were close with were you close with a lot of them too? Then, or did you just kind of just know them?
I know them, and we all talk, and basically we have a Western High reunion every year at Heritage Days, and that's the stopping off point because it's on a Friday night, and that's when Heritage Days traditionally kicks off. So we go up there above DJ's. They have a nice hall up there and chandelier and everything. And it's really nice, and so a lot of the younger kids that were probably in 7th or 8th grade when I was a senior, or even earlier, are starting to come to this now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and those kids, I knew who they were when I was a senior, but I really didn't.
Yeah.
And now I've forgotten.
Yeah.
Totally who they are. So.
My graduating class was around 300. So I barely knew half of them, so I can't imagine actually knowing everyone in my school.
Yeah, there she is. Sandra Johnson was Alice.
She was Alice.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So then you did your camp counseling. Obviously, that was during the summer. Mm-hmm. Okay. How did that work with summer school then?
Normally it was after summer school.
Okay. Because you only went for, was it 6 weeks?
6 weeks, I think.
Okay.
It was in part of May and part of June, something like that.
Okay. What was that like, really?
A pain.
A pain?
For a guy.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to. Back then, we'd jump on our bicycles and we'd go over to, Rob's house or whatever, and by the time we were done running around, we had a ball team together, and let's go out and play ball. And somebody brought a bat, and I had a ball, and we played baseball all the rest of the day.
Oh, really? Because that was only for half of a day then, right? The summer school?
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Did you go ahead. I was
going to say, we just would play over here at the school, what's now the parking lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where we play. Oh, well.
So what did you do then for summer school? Was it actually like a structured learning?
Oh, yeah. We did English. We did writing skills. Mm-hmm. Things that probably aren't taught now, like legibility and penmanship and that kind of stuff. And we had regular school, reading, and mostly English and reading for the English teachers that wanted to student teach. Mm-hmm. So we had a lot of student teachers in the summer school.
Oh, I bet. So during your summers, that's what you would spend most of the day doing after, would be to go play baseball?
Oh, yeah, or swimming.
Okay.
You know, the usual summer stuff. I have friends that were into fishing. I never did get into fishing or anything like that, but we would typically just play baseball and goof around and ride our bikes and, you know, just all over town. And, and, you know, it was something you did back then.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, you're talking about early 60s, you know, and it was a really small town then. So we could go all over town, all over the place. We'd even ride sometimes out to Spring Lake.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
It seems like a far away, but it's not that bad.
Yeah. So what was Macomb like then? When you would be, you said it was smaller, wasn't it?
Yeah. Back then, the big night was Friday night because it seemed the rural people, the farmers, would all come to town to shop and see who was doing what and visit and so on and so forth. And so Friday night was really a big night. Really big night. So
was the square a spot to
yes,
hang out
around the
then?
square, yes.
Okay.
That's about the only place that, you know, the people came to. That was the focal point.
There probably wasn't too much else then, was there? Small town.
Not really. They had the Illinois Theater, which is now the Forum, was there. And then a little bit after that, over by the post office, was a theater called the Lark.
Okay.
So that's another thing that us guys would do, would go to the Lark on Saturday afternoon, and they played Tarzan movies, and we Tarzan.
And you only had to pay once, and you could stay there for as long as you like. Is that correct?
Yeah, and something they do now, they used to do, they would always play a cartoon before the Warner Brother cartoons, those really good cartoons, and then show even a movie or a news clip, like movie tone.
Yeah.
They used to do that too. This is in the early 60s still, but they have dropped away from doing that now.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen Macomb then. My grandma actually grew up here.
Okay.
And so
what was her name?
Connie. It would have been Barnes then. And I think her grandpa owned her dad owned the orchard that used to be out on 67. I'm not sure if it's still there or not.
I know of it.
So I've heard a little bit about Macomb, but not a whole lot.
Well, it was just a little rural place, in western Illinois, and there wasn't a lot to do, so we'd make do.
Yeah.
Another thing that we used to do, at the corner, where Casey's West is now, just across the street where the old Thompson, there's a big parking lot there, and just beyond that, what used to be the sale barn where they sell livestock.
Okay.
And it was fun to go down there and walk around up above everything and just look down on some kick saw or straw down on people, and run. So we just,
You were ornery.
But little. Not as bad as some, believe me.
Well, I know during the tour, when we went by the principal's office, you had said you'd spent a little bit of time
there. I did, but I don't recall why now.
Yeah.
It wasn't probably chewing gum or not wearing socks. That was a big thing back then in high school. You'd have penny loafers and no socks. And,
really?
Oh, yeah. That was really breaking the rules.
Whoa. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. So we had to wear socks. So that was really breaking the envelope. It was, pretty structured back then.
You also told the story about on your way home, you and your brother, when you'd walk home, you would shake the machine.
Sure. Yeah, we do that every now and then. But what was neat about that is that I actually knew Ray Hansen, you know, and I knew Styx Morley and Guy Rickey. You know, Guy Rickey was. I went to school with Pam, and let's see, where is she? Yeah, here she is, right here.
Okay.
Yeah, and she lives in Texas now. But anyway, yeah, if you were to go into the Athletic Hall of Fame room there at Western Hall, there's a picture of a bunch of coaches at Hansen Field sitting on steps, and I think there's 7 of them. I knew 6 of them.
Really?
Personally, yeah.
And was that because your dad was?
Mostly.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was around those guys. We were able to interact with some of these guys, and it was just every day to us.
Yeah.
You know, because we were around these guys, and we went to school with their kids. So I was over to like Jim Duffelmeyer's house, and Art Duffelmeyer was the head football coach.
Okay.
You know, so.
Good connections.
And it was always Mr. Duffelmeyer, how are you, or Mr. whoever. It was never the first name, never ever. It was always formally or a formal Mr. Duffelmeyer.
Is that how it was with everyone then too?
Yes.
Really?
If you were taught early, that's how it was. You know, the teachers were always Mr. Whoever, you know. And it was just very formal back then.
That's why the socks were so important.
Yep. Yep.
I also believe that I saw some pictures of you in band through the school.
It was orchestra.
Orchestra.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you play?
Well, like I said, I played cello.
Okay.
And I don't know whether that's because my mother was a concert cellist or not. Probably.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, she had gone to Oberlin College and actually had toured with an orchestra group during World War II. And she grew up, by the way, in Geneva, Illinois.
Okay.
Western suburbs. So, anyways, she and the Gillstroms, who also had a son my age, and I was really good friends with Brian. I'm just a few months older than him, so they formed a trio. She played in the university symphony orchestra as well as the Knox Symphony Orchestra, Knox College. Yeah.
Wow.
And any other gigs she could find.
Wow.
She loved to play.
So that might have been where Tom got his musical talent from then.
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so.
Okay. So then you played football, track, and band, correct?
Orchestra.
Orchestra. I'm sorry, orchestra.
Yeah. Then we had, the full orchestra back then. Everyone had their own instrument. We had a full orchestra, and which is really uncommon, because it's expensive, number one, to have instruments, but the school provided the instruments.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Definitely.
See, that was before, things got so tight where the parents had to chip in. If you want to do this, you had to $50, and if you want to do this, another $50. So that was unique.
So then, were your friends also involved in as many activities then?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Like I said, the Gillstroms were in it. I was going to show you a picture of it anyway. I'll show you in a minute. But, it's, it's strange sometimes. You look at all these pictures of, and the only one I can pick out that I know for sure played was, Brian Gillstrom. Yeah, that's right. And then Steve Waniger, whose dad was Forrest Waniger, was the choral director here at Western.
Really?
And so he played, I think, violin or viola. I can't remember which, but yeah. Where is he? There he is. Steve Waniger, yeah. Yep. So.
I also think it's funny. In the yearbook, all of the boys in here are dressed in the suit and tie. And,
right.
Now senior pictures, it's just you pick your picture that you want to put in there, and not very many people are in a suit and tie now. Their pictures.
Yep. So, and back then, believe it or not, most of my pictures prior to this, I had a flat top.
Really?
Yeah, and I was just starting to wear my hair combed, and when I got to take my picture, the photographer showed me actually how to part my hair, believe it or not.
Really?
To do it correctly, because my dad had a flat top, and he just did not want long hair,
Yeah.
So we had a big tussle over that. But anyway, it was the 60s, so.
What do you think was a couple of your most memorable moments at the lab school?
Well,
You can share as many as you'd like. I'd love to hear.
well, I did want to tell you the story about me personally protecting the undefeated, untied, and unscored on. That's probably the most. So I'm going down in history as the guy that saved the season.
Really?
Yeah. So we were undefeated, untied, and unscored on. We were playing our last game down in Lewistown, and it was a cold night. Our coach's wife had gotten us all these plastic sheets that you get from the dry cleaners, where they go over the garment. Well, we stuck hand holes in them and put them over our T-shirts, and then put our pads on over that, and that was help us keep warm, which it worked pretty well actually.
I bet.
And but anyway, late in the game, they had got a drive going, and they stalled down, I'm going to say, the 14-yard line, close to scoring. It's fourth down. They have a chance to kick a field goal and ruin our season. So in the defensive huddle, John Knowles tells me, and my nickname back then was Warney.
Warney?
Yeah, because my middle name is Edmund, so Warren E. Warney. So, and to this day, I'm 62. They still call me that. All my really good friends. But anyway, he says, because you're the high hurler, you're going to hurl over these guys, and you're going to get to them. And what actually happened was the guys on the line blocked. This is the defensive guys are blocking like offensive guys, and made a hole for the running back, me. And in my mind's eye, to this day, I can still see their quarterback catching the ball and placing it, and then I'm there.
Oh my
and then
goodness.
Either he kicked it or something messed up somehow, some way. When I opened my eyes, because I still remember, this is going to hurt. so when I opened my eyes, the ball was right there at my feet. I said, touchdown for me, because all I had to do is pick it up and run. And back then, I could run pretty darn fast. So trouble was, I reached down too fast, and I got overbalanced, and I made it about 10 yards. But that's the way it goes. I blocked the kick and saved the season.
That is a really cool story. That's so cool.
So even now, we bring it up, and so...
So how often do you get together with these guys? I mean, do you more than just the
maybe
reunion?
Once a year.
Okay.
We're coming up on our 44th or 45th anniversary coming up pretty quick. So we'll probably have a formal reunion pretty soon, and we all talk about that and other stuff. And now it's how many grandkids you got.
Yeah.
So, but that's one of the memories. it's pretty uneventful, really. Other than that, our whole school revolved around football and Coach Sockler and a lot of that kind of stuff. And I guess going to the prom, was a lot different too.
Yeah.
And the girls did the beehive hairdo, and us guys would get rent a tux. And matter of fact, here they are right here.
Oh.
That's John Barkley, and I can't remember what her name is, but it probably says down here.
Judy Morgan?
Yeah. He's a big farmer around here somewhere.
Okay. So who did you go to prom with?
Actually, I went or took my, believe it or not, what would become my wife.
Really?
Yeah, and her name was Molly Montgomery, and she went to Macomb High.
Okay.
So it was a very strange deal. That I don't believe I ever dated any of the girls who went to Western High. That's really strange. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I had a job at the Illinois Theater as an usher, and she had just come in and had moved from West Virginia, so she had that southern accent. She was a blonde and very tall, and she just captivated me, and so we made it 12 years and 2 kids.
Really?
Yeah. And then the big divorce happened.
Yeah.
So I won't go into that. So, oops, excuse me.
Oh, no, you're fine.
So, anyway, the memories, there are a lot of them. You just have to jog them somehow. I don't know.
Do you remember much about your younger years at Western then?
Yeah, I was going to say in the class the other day that one of my vivid memories in kindergarten was at nap time. We always had to go back that room and the other one, where they had the building blocks. They also had cots, and they let us take a 20-minute nap or whatever. I don't know. We were only 5. But I remember they were made of aluminum, and we could pick them up ourselves and take them wherever we went. And we would, at least I would pretend I was driving a car. And I had always been interested in cars, even before I went to school. My folks told me when I was 3 I could tell the difference between a Chevy and a Ford or a Chrysler or whatever.
Impressive.
Yeah. So I've always been intrigued by big machines. I could, even up in my mom's home in Geneva, went down to the railroad terminal they had there, and at the time, this is of course the late or mid 50s, they still had steam locomotives, and I got to go up on an actual locomotive and just look around all the valves and the knobs and whatnot.
It would have been your day in heaven.
Oh, I was. I was probably 4, maybe 5. I don't know. But that's a memory I have.
Yeah.
But that, and I don't know why I got interested in cars, but it could be the sound, because we at one time lived in what is now the Methodist parsonage, and that's West Adams Road, and back then that was the drag strip, and I remember late at night you could hear the big V8s going out, the sound of a engine under full throttle, and it just intrigued me. I love that sound.
That's funny.
So I finally did get to live my dream, though. I've actually built a hot rod, and
really,
yeah, I've got a 83 Cutlass Supreme, and I converted it into a hot rod. And I always wanted to do that. It was a ton of work, but it was fun after I got done.
Okay.
But I took the 6-cylinder out of it and put in a big V8 and a transmission, so you got to hook all that stuff up and time it, and oh my God, it was a ton of work.
My uncle has a couple cars that he's rebuilt, and one of them was a 65. He's a Mustang and a Camaro, and I get them mixed up which ones they were, but I remember him talking about how long it would take. But
yep,
so
I can remember laying in the driveway, putting the transmission in, and it was late October, 1st November, wind was blowing, it's cold. Gotta get this done.
Yeah.
So that was the way it was. So.
Do a lot of the people that you graduated with live in the area then, or do they mostly come back just for the reunions?
There's 3 or 4 that live around the area, but most of us have moved on. You know, bigger and better things. You know, so,
bigger and better than Macomb.
Well, you know, bigger or in your mind's eye. You know, you always think of Macomb, but there's something always better around the corner. You know,
Yeah.
so
I love Macomb. I just moved here in August though, but I really like it. I'm only from Burlington though, so I'm not from very far.
Oh, okay.
Do you know exactly why the lab school closed?
Probably money.
Okay.
There is a story about it. But I don't know exactly what it is. I was actually in the service by then, and of course I was long removed from it. So, so I'm sure that if you dig deep enough, you can find it.
Yeah.
You know, my brother may know. I don't know. When we get to talking to him,
So since you still had your sisters and Tom, well, I guess and Stan still would have been in the last, or he would have he graduated from Horben, right?
Yeah, Stan and Tom did.
Okay.
And my sister Sarah went through her junior year, and then that's when they closed.
Okay. So how did that really impact your family then, in school closing?
Not very much.
Not
really.
very much? Okay.
It was just took it all in stride. You know, what else could you do?
Yeah. I mean, I guess everyone else was going through it too. So.
Yep. So again, it didn't affect me at all.
Yeah.
You know, I was sad to see it happen, but I didn't understand. But it's just oh well. You know?
Yeah.
Oh well. So just you know, I didn't take time to talk to my sister. You know, and just. You know, I knew she was going to finish at Macomb High, but I was busy with other things, kids and stuff myself, and so it was really low on my radar. And so later on, I did talk to her about it, and she said it was just terrible. I mean, she hated going to Macomb High.
I bet.
You know,
what did she hate? What's about it?
Well, it was the crosstown rival, number one, and it was just all new, and it just wasn't the way that it should be in her mind, and so it just wasn't right. Didn't feel right, you know. So.
Dr. Buchanan said that everyone that she has talked to that went to the lab school absolutely loved going there, and is very happy they went there instead of the public school. I haven't heard any bad things about.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't heard any bad things about.
I don't have anything really bad to say about it, but. At one time, I thought maybe going over to Macomb High, you know.
Oh, really?
Just a thought, you know. That I never really got it.
Why did you think about that?
Oh, I was having trouble with a class or something. You know how you're a kid, you'd think silly things.
Find a solution.
Yeah, so I'll get away from it all. So. Anyway, but yeah, here's this is the spring of '68, and there's the new school there.
Okay.
And this must be the old one. So
it doesn't look a lot like some kid does now.
Old castle type thing, but yeah, we were supposed to go in '68, but didn't get to. So yeah.
I think it's ironic that they built Horben for the lab school, and then they only used it for 4 years then.
Something like that.
So.
Yeah, it's got to be 73, 74. because then the Vietnam War was winding down, and enrollment wasn't as high as it was, and didn't need it, and it was getting old, and or the new place, things were changing, administrations and so on, and so it's had. If you look into the money aspect, that's probably what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense, I guess. So after graduating, you joined the service.
Well, not by choice.
Okay, Jack.
What I did after high school, I went up to Blackhawk College and got started there. And then, for some reason, I lost my deferment. Back then, you get a college deferment and hopefully escape the draft. But then they had the big, I forget when it was, 69 or 70 maybe. Anyway, they had the big lottery thing about with the numbers, and my number is 93, or no, 95. I'm sorry, 95. And my birthday, December 24th, came out 95. So that was a low number. Pretty sure I was going in.
Yeah.
And so, having lost my deferment, sure enough, I meant to bring that with me. Doggone it. I still have that draft notice.
Really?
Yeah, greetings, you're hereby ordered an introduction to the United States Army. That's what it starts off.
It sounds scary.
It is.
That paper sounds terrifying.
It is. It's serious. So,
yeah.
So, fortunately for me, I had been talking with a friend of mine who was in the Air Force, and he recommended, if you have to go, do that. So I made a beeline to the Air Force recruiter and told him what the deal was. Oh yeah, we can get you in. So I signed up with the Air Force, and I enlisted in the Air Force on December 7th, 1970. Was supposed to go in the Army December 8th, and I beat it by a day. And later on, read a lot of history of the Vietnam War and so on and so forth. And had I gone in the Army December 8th, 1970, it's about 8 weeks of basic training and about 3 or 4 more of AIT. That brings you up about January 71. And that's when it was really hot in Vietnam. And I know I would have gone to Vietnam.
Yeah.
I certainly would have.
So how did your family, especially your mom, feel about when she...
Well, see, they grew up during the Depression, and it was your duty to serve. Okay. And so they were okay with it. Okay. And they knew, and they trusted that I'd be okay. And I'm a pretty independent soul anyway, so being the eldest and everything, so they weren't too concerned. My dad wasn't at all. Yeah. He just got to get out of here.
And you didn't have to leave the United States when you were in the Air Force, did you?
Nope.
Okay.
I really lucked out. They sent me to South Carolina, and I spent 4 years there. And I extended my tour by 20 months so I could cross-train into another career field, which was maintenance analyst. I was a mechanic, back to the cars and stuff. So I got trained in that stuff, and then I got, after 4 years of doing really heavy work, I was working on trucks, and a flywheel alone weighs 110 pounds. Then you try putting that up, and it only goes but one way in the sequence of bolts. And so you do that a few times, and lots of heavy-duty stuff. And, so I tried to get into a career field that had, an office job. I had a friend that was a maintenance analyst, so I got into school, found out it's all statistics. And my math skills weren't all that good, but I made it through there. But I went to school in the summer of '74 at Rantoul. Okay. And so then from there I went to Wichita, Kansas. and I spent about another year out there. So I got out of the service in November of '76.
So then you were dating Molly through this time?
Well, we were married.
Were you married?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So after that, we went from there, and let's see, that was November of '73, and then we went to Charleston, West Virginia, and lived with her brother for a while. And in March of '77, I got hired at Union Carbide. So I worked in a chemical plant for several years, which was really scary.
I bet.
So.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Your best friends that you had while you were at the lab school, did you, were those the ones that you kept in touch with right after, too?
Yeah, pretty
or?
much, yeah.
Okay.
It's strange how you lose track, and then you meet them again, and you just pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
It's strange, but
Yeah.
Ed Chapman, his dad ran Chapman's bookstore over here, and his family did that for a long time. And but Ed was a super brainiac. He got 2 degrees from University of Illinois. I think 1 in law and 1 in finance.
Really?
And he was working in the World Trade Center way before that it crashed, the terrorist thing. But he worked for Goldman Sachs, and he is one of our first official millionaires of our class. So I think he's out in Arizona now, but he is definitely into the big bucks.
He probably comes back for the reunions too.
Oh yeah, now and then, yeah, sure. Yeah, he's still the same old Ed. Yeah. Yeah.
I've asked almost everything on here, but there's one that I have not asked yet, and that was about your favorite and your worst teachers.
My favorite teachers?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It might be, get over here to the staff, if I can find it. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe Miss Buckley, here we go. She was our English teacher. And here's a picture of her here. And very seldom did she smile.
I remember you talking a little bit about her.
Yeah, she cracked a whip type of person, and she expected a lot out of you, more than you thought you could do. And that's what a lot of kids nowadays need, is to be pushed.
Yeah.
And she was demanding and expected to get what she wanted, and she made us get that, just by personality. She would do that. But I think another one that was that's I can't read it upside down. Sorry, Mr. Genovese. He was another English teacher. But this is 1968, and he went on to become an actor.
Really?
I've seen him on TV programs all the time. He was on NYPD Blue for a while, kind of a bit actor, but he flirted with the big time, So.
Did he come to your 9th grade play?
No. But Mr. Cameron, the social studies, social sciences, history. What he would do, and I just loved it, was he would get these films of Mike Wallace, and I think they were just copies of the program, 20th Century or something. But they would do historical events and what led up to them, and I learned a lot of history that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so those are a couple of them that were quite interesting.
Were there any teachers that I know you had talked about? I think it was more when you were younger. You knew who the teachers were who weren't so good, and you would give them a hard time. I think it was mostly the student teachers, though.
I don't know. I kind of forgot about that. But I think, I didn't show you guys where industrial arts, but I did like Mr. Hauk. And he was a good guy. He'd help you out on projects and shop and that kind of stuff, and any kind of stuff. He was just so versatile.
Where was that at, the industrial arts?
It would be on the east side of Simpkins, down in the basement area.
Okay.
And so it was down one of the halls, then up a couple stairs, and you're there. So here's Miss Holing I was telling you about.
Screen.
Yeah, she was scary. For a guy that, us guys that were in the sixth grade.
Yeah.
She always made us do the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. Mm-hmm. And then she said something right before it, almost like a grace. It might have been grace before we went down to have lunch.
I don't see that anymore.
No. And then Miss Mills was... she was a librarian, but it turns out she was in the Army during World War II and had quite an illustrious career in the Army.
Really?
Yeah, kind of intelligence person, And
my.
So, you see, a lot of these people, the older ones, 1968, that's not too far removed from World War II in 1945.
Yeah.
So these guys were in World War II. And some of them grew up in the 30s, the Depression.
Yeah.
But our heroes in the movies were John Wayne and Burt Lancaster and those guys, and mostly John Wayne. And we all tried to emulate him.
Mm-hmm. My grandfather's a big John Wayne fan.
Yeah.
I think actually even my dad when he was younger, when he was little.
Mm-hmm. So anything else you can think of to ask me?
Can you tell me a little bit more about what you do now at Western?
Sure. I've been at Western 17 years as a janitor. And then just recently, the first of the year, I was promoted to a supervisor. Okay. So now I'm a supervisor of 5 buildings. Canoblaw, Library, Stipes, Kearns, and Horben. Okay. So I have about 14 people that work for me, and so I keep them all on their toes and show them what to do or ask them what to do, and most of them know what to do. Yeah. It's keeping them doing it is a trick, So I'm learning the ropes on the other side of the fence, so to speak. Yeah. So.
This is a little bit off topic, but you talked about how when I asked you the question during the tour about how Simpkins being haunted or anything, you told me about, was that recently that someone told you?
Yeah, a couple of years ago maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
Are there a lot of?
Periodically, sure. Yeah, you hear about it all the time. So. Yeah. Don't pay too much attention to it.
Part of it might be just because people talk about it that they think they see
mass hypnosis or something. Yep.
I've also heard from several people about the little pond that's by Simpkins. Mm-hmm. I haven't heard very good things about.
Like Ruth? The one that's out front?
Yeah.
It's called Lake Ruth.
Oh, Lake Ruth. Okay.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And there's a reason that it's called Lake Ruth, isn't it?
I think I remember reading that story, but I don't remember what it was now. But I think it had something to do with one of the administration's daughters drowned in the thing, you know, and so they named a little pond for her or something. Or it could be that they had a picnic there, and the girl's name was Ruth, and so they liked it. She was pretty or something, and you know, it could be that one. I don't know. Either take your pick. I don't know.
Yeah. I've heard some rumors about college students. The girls, if they had found out they were pregnant, they would get rid of the baby, and they would.
Oh. Just ditch the baby?
Yeah, I've heard that, but I was wondering if you would actually know.
I've heard those stories too. I don't know that they're true. But yeah, it's a scary thing, really.
Yeah.
It does happen now and then. Someone will find a baby, or they're here, you know, up in a dorm or whatever. But yeah, it's unfortunate that they can't step up, you know, take ownership. You know. But back in 1968, for instance, college students, if they got caught drinking, they were expelled from college.
Really?
Yep. They were expelled. There was no tolerance at all. You know, so.
Even if, obviously they would have been of age.
Well,
still no tolerance.
Not on campus.
Okay.
But if you were of age, of course, that was okay. But you didn't dare get caught.
Yeah.
And that's why they had the Lakers out at Lake Argyle. And you would get a keg, and everyone would go out into the boondocks around Lake Argyle and start, have a little bonfire there and drink yourself silly out in the middle of nowhere, and all, no harm, no foul,
Yeah. Is there anything that you can tell me about Stan that I can?
He was homecoming king.
Oh, he was?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I did not know that.
And he was left-handed.
Okay.
Not that it makes any difference to me.
Well, I am too, so.
But, he where I took after Mom, he took after Dad, so.
Okay.
He has Dad's stature as far as being very lean, and where I'm a little plump and Mom was too.
And then he ran track in middle school. I know. Did he also run it in high school?
Not so much high school. He transitioned over to baseball.
Okay. And then, were you two very close then, as you were only a year apart?
Close as brothers can be,
yeah.
But I don't know. I'll let him talk about that.
Okay. Is there anything else that you can tell me? Any more stories or anything that you can think of?
Oh, if you could prod my memory, I could probably come up with some, but the only one that pops in my mind right now, one time the folks were gone for the weekend, and all my buddies came over, and we were drinking and having a good time and smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Back then, that was, but the problem was one of my friends brought his dad's station wagon over, and it was just almost identical to the one my dad had. And a lot of other people came by and saw that car and thought that Mom and Dad were home. So what was just a little get-together could have been a major deal. And then later I found out that the campus police knew about it somehow or another, and they were monitoring the party because evidently it was the same night as some kind of a dance that was going on, and so it could have been bad. But then at that time, I don't know if you've gone over there to look to see where we lived on Charles Street. But
I haven't.
Okay, you ought to get an idea of where we lived. But anyway, we had students that live there, college students who were paying rent to mom and dad, and he came up the next day. There's cigarette ashes all over my books, So my dad looks at me, and I'm like, oh crap.
Oh no.
So we got in big trouble. So I had explained what was going on.
Did you get along with the college students then that lived below you?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, because a lot of them ran track and cross country for my dad.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah.
So where was it at on Charles Street?
It's 718 North Charles. It's if you go to the corner of Pierce and Charles.
Okay.
It'll be the first house on the left. It's a big brick house.
Okay. I'll have to look at that, definitely. Right there.
Yeah, it's just around the corner. You could probably ride the bus up there and ride right past it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you need?
I can't think of anything right now, but there's a good chance that I will have to email you because I'll think of something else that I want to ask you.
Feel free.
So, I'm going to turn this off.